Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the inaugural Personal Growth E-Summit. We are glad that you took the opportunity to join us wherever you are in the world and whatever time zone that you are as well, for these couple of hours to learn, share, and grow with us. My name is Joe, and I'm the organizer for this event. But I didn't do it alone. Obviously, I did it with all these wonderful speakers who will be presenting throughout the next 3-4 hours. It's not an exaggeration to say that we are living in tumultuous times. What some may see as crisis, others see as opportunities for self-discovery and the pursuit of fresh goals and visions. Now, whatever those are for you, I believe that it all starts with us, our attitude, our positioning, our mindset. I am honored to be joined today by a wonderful panel of speakers who will share from their knowledge and collective wisdom. But above all this, from their hearts. See, sometimes I feel that there's too much emphasis on capability and too little emphasis on empathy. Perhaps we all need to redress that balance, and we can start today. Once again, thank you for joining us, and hopefully this is the first of many Personal Growth E-Summits that we will organize moving forward. I'm sure that there are a lot more people who are going to be joining us as we move on, as we roll on through the day, and they will just come in. Now, if you do have questions, obviously I'm speaking to the attendees. If you do have questions, feel free to jump onto the chat box on Zoom and type your questions. I will be keeping an eye out for those, and we'll try our best to answer them as time allows. Let's get straight into it. Our first speaker is Marie Ang. Marie Ang is a personal friend of mine, and I've had the wonderful privilege to have known her now for the past 1.5 years. She has a great heart for people, but she's also the founder and managing director of Solomon's Guild, which is a coaching company which specializes in the areas of women empowerment, marriage enrichment, and corporate enhancement. She's a certified John C. Maxwell and ICF coach, a mentor, and serves on the advisory boards of several businesses in the region. Substantial corporate management experience. But apart from all of this, her real inspiration is really to help others to live a life of significance. Most notably, towards the end of last year, she was actually invited by Chinese provincial mayor to teach her curriculum to various industries in the Shunde, Guangzhou province to assist in leadership, cultural, and people transformation. Today, this morning, well, at least in our time this morning, this evening, wherever you are, she will be talking to us about having a crisis-proof mentality. Marie, over to you.
Thank you so much, Joe, for that introduction, and good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. I really appreciate you taking the time to sit in this amazing group of speakers and to see everybody from all over the world, I assume. So thank you very much for having me. Today, I'm going to talk about, having a crisis-proofed mentality. It means that developing it. Now, let me share the screen with you all so that you can see where I'm going with this. So bear with me. Right, can you all see the screen? Give me a thumbs up if you can. So thank you for that. Now, basically, having a crisis-proof mentality doesn't mean that, you don't go through issues, you are not worried, you're not anxious. It's not that, but rather to be prepared for, situations and to call upon some of the help that we can get on. So what I want to do is this, the COVID-19 has got so many issues, and it is one of the virus that actually impacted not just, one country or two, it impacted globally. I was just thinking this morning, while I was preparing for this summit, was that even Hollywood, actors, actresses are also going into this these issues because they cannot go for filming, they can't produce films and all sorts of things. So it wasn't just a matter of just us, but everybody in that respect. So what I want to share with you are some tips to help you have that kind of crisis-proof mentality, so that whenever any crisis, whether it's local or global, we can tap on it, at least minimally some of the little tools to help you along. So when you come to the end of a rope, tie a knot and hang on. This is by Franklin Roosevelt. So most times, right, we will just end up, dropping everything, scared, hide away, or, just give up. And I encourage you not to do that in that sense. What do I mean by that? Okay, because emotions are affected. When crisis happens, like in this case of COVID-19, not only jobs are impacted, the family is impacted. A lot of people are infected one way or another. And what comes up to the surface are fear, insecurity, even our self-esteem is affected, because we go like, are we good enough for this? Is my job secured? Is my business going forward? What do I have to do? And some of us even feel abandoned, in a sense that, nobody's helping us. We feel that, perhaps, in a sense that nobody cares. And even anger too. I have come across people who are like very angry with, the whole virus thing. Yeah, it's very normal to do that in a sense. And so what do we have to do? Well, let me give you 4 tips. Now remember the word SPCA. No, it's not Singapore Prevention of Cruelty to Animals. It's just 4 tips. So S stands for seek, P stands for pivot, C stands for coach, and A stands for association. So I'll go through the tip one by one. Now, what do I mean by seek? Now, during this crisis, I personally am also affected by quite a few things here and there. But what I seek comfort is this, that, I am able to tap on a pool of associates. And what do I mean by that? Now, when you are in any form of service industry or some sort of selling products whatsoever, what I noticed during this crisis was that in the WhatsApp group, right, there are friends that actually reach out to us and say, look, I'm running a restaurant and I need help with either A, delivery, B, can anybody help me with like buying some stuff from me, I have a promotion, and things like that. And you get a lot of people coming up to say, okay, look, I don't mind doing delivery for you. I don't mind, ordering some food for you, or I don't mind, using some of your services. Obviously, we can't charge through the nose in that respect. And of course, we cannot charge the usual price when during a non-crisis period. So people are willing to step up and help you. Friends even. Now I have a friend who does bakery, and she bakes from home. She makes beautiful cakes and all that. And then she said, look, I'm just trying to, she's a single mom, by the way, so I'm just trying to make some income during this time, because there's no income and she's a single mom. And during her so-called, she actually got a job, but because of this crisis, she was made redundant. But she's very good at baking. So what did she do? She baked a few things, took photos, and then start sending it to other friends and say, even if you order from me, 2 cupcakes, 3 cupcakes, I'm happy to do that, and I'll get my husband to deliver and all that. So friends were willing to step up and say, yeah, we don't mind, we don't have a lot of money to spend, but we're willing to buy, a little cupcake here and there, for birthdays, for anniversaries, and then she just delivers them. And even customers, when they reach out to them, to same thing, touch base. Don't, in a sense, like, retreat into yourselves, because once you retreat yourselves, no one knows, whether you're going, coming, whatever that may be, you're still operational. And also I find that, in some countries, I can't speak for all the countries, but let me just speak on behalf of Singapore. We were very blessed because the government were giving us grants, the businesses, small businesses, to say, look, how can we help you tie over some of the stuff? So just yesterday, I received a check from the government, kind of like giving me back 75% salary support for some of my employees. So things like that you can tap on. And if you're not sure, seek an accountant, ask questions in that sense. Now, mentors. For me, that's a big favorite, and coaches also, excuse me. So mentors and coaches are a big favorite of mine. Why? Because they not only direct you, help you to refocus, realign, they also help you to calm your emotions down, because they have gone through some of the issues that we are currently going through. May not be in that big an issue in a sense like the crisis, like this crisis, but they have been through some of the challenges and they're able to direct you, help you, and guide you. Okay, so that's for S. And don't suffer in silence. Speak up. In that sense that the crisis-proof mentality includes things like, not mental disorder, but also in the sense that you will also go through a lot of emotional stuff and all these things. Don't suffer in silence. Just reach out, And P is for pivot. Look at new ways of changing your business model. And I took this opportunity to put this on top because even though I have the curriculum for women in my Solomon's Guild company, the focus now for me is women empowerment, enrichment, and equipment. In that sense, what I mean is this: I'm concentrated now on this particular women's empowerment, and actually it kind of like took off because during this time a lot of women are suffering quietly too. And so I changed slightly a bit in the sense that instead of doing my curriculum and thing, I started in doing my belief. So let me share this while I elaborate on this business model. What happened is this: during March, beginning of the COVID, what we call the circuit breaker in Singapore, Simon Sinek spoke to all the John Maxwell coaches, and he told his story of how he went from being an entrepreneur to where he is now, starting with the why. And what he said was this: he said 4 years into his business, he felt that his spirit was getting a bit tired, so he had a bit of for lack of a better word, entrepreneur fatigue. And he was saying how is he going to keep going and sustaining a business? And one of his friends was concerned, looking at him going through the motions, but not as enthused in his business. And then he said this. He said the friend told him this. Friend said, "I think you did not know your why when you do this entrepreneurship, and I suggest maybe perhaps you take a step back, think about it." And so Simon actually took a step back and thought about it. And when he thought about it, he realized that what his friend said about the why was the thing that he resonated with. So he started to say, you know what? I really need to find my why. And if I'm the person who's finding my why, everybody will be finding that why, which one of the speakers will be covering on today. So stay put. Now, Simon Sinek said this also. He said, why are we selling our business based on curriculum, products, and services? Why don't we sell our business on our belief? And that's where his this belief of why kind of started the whole thing for him. So I suggest that, this is just a suggestion, that look at your business model and go back to the basic. Why did you do what you do? Right? Is it a belief or is it because everyone else is doing? And looking at also restructuring your business. Can you also, do lean now instead of having a bigger office, or having everybody come to work? Like in Singapore now we telecommute. So some can work from home, some, basically can go to the office, but, we have all this social distancing. So look at restructuring. Do you need some of the positions? Can you offload some? Can you outsource some? And minimization in a sense also try not to spend too much money. Now, cash is king now, because what happened is you need to sustain for the long term. We don't know how long this crisis is going to happen. Go on for. But that's not just for this crisis, but it's also for other crises as well. For example, perhaps, the industry that you are in, could be drying up and all these things. And how can you look at, less cost and more effective in all these things, which covers the cost saving in that respect. So just look at new ways to pivot, look at the business model, save some money. If necessary, don't spend. So that's one thing. Now, talking about pivoting. So I took this from the Straits Times, about 800 SQ cabin crew deployed. And what they do is basically, we are all served by all these hosts and hostesses in Singapore Airlines and all that. But what they did was during this time was SQ said, look, we don't want just to put you on unpaid leave and all that. Why don't you utilize all the skills that were provided by SQ to serve in other industries. So some of them were in the hospitals, some were diverted to customer service, and so they became very active and they learned new skills as well. So that's another way of pivoting. Now C for coaching. So I covered S, and then I covered P, and now C for coaching. Now coaching don't just help you, it helps others too. What I meant by that, in a lot of instances, right, people say, I don't need coaching and all these things, but actually coaching is not just tell you what to do. Sometimes coaches journey with you. Actually, most times they journey with you. There are times when we feel down, they are the ones that hold our hand. The times when you're up, they're there to celebrate with you. So they journey with you through some of the issues. And I cannot emphasize enough that when I personally was going through some issues in life, apart from this crisis, coaches that came alongside me, whether mentors or coaches, let's say coaches for that matter, came alongside me, lift me up, help me through some of the issues. So let me just quickly share a story. When I was made redundant in 1999, I was one of the highest positional leader in the bank, one of the top 4 banks in Australia. And after I got made redundant, I lost my purpose. I even lost my identity because I tagged my identity to my job. And so after that, right, I kind of went into depression, didn't want to meet anybody, was affected by everything. Long and short of it was that, one of my friends who became my coach in a sense, saw what I was going through, and she took me out for lunch, and I refused to go because the place where she's taking me out for lunch is the place that I used to work. And so she decided that, no, I need to confront my fears. And she took me out to lunch over there, and she made me walk across the glass doors to that previous office that I used to work with. It's the longest walk of my life. And when I was walking through past that 2 doors, right, my staff who were having lunch there saw me, and they were all whispering to themselves and pointing at me and say, like, she was made redundant, she's the one, and all these things. And I tell you, I felt like, I wanted a big hole to open up and swallow me whole. But my friend held me by my hand and she said, no, lift your chin up, look straight, and walk with me. Don't stop. You did nothing wrong. And she literally refused to let me go. And after I walked past the door, right, I just wept. It was almost like this shame, this condemnation, this label, of being made redundant, useless. It was lifted off. And, and that day I actually recovered, and I resolved that, I'm not going to tag my identity to my job anymore. I'm going to find myself. And with that, I can be a better person. So coaches help you in that sense. As this is borrowed from Barry O'Reilly, who said that coach actually facilitate, mentor, advise, consultant, problem solve. So sometimes we are coach, sometimes we are mentor, sometimes we are even consultant, or all 3 in one, and seek out somebody who can help you. And A for association, strength in numbers. Very important during this time, during any crisis, right? It's important to be in associations of like-minded people. Don't stick at home, stay at home, stick to the, few people or friends, in that sense. Go and join associations that is related to your industry so that, they can also share some, not just tips, perhaps opportunities, perhaps something that they can collaborate with and all that. For example, Brands for Good is a huge association made up of a lot of businesses as well as the movers and shakers. And what happened during this crisis, this COVID crisis, was that they started doing a lot of Zoom calls, and they bring all the businesses, not in that sense of members, but also outside businesses together to discuss, to network, to also brainstorm. How can we then go through some of the issues in COVID, and how can we serve better, and also to help other businesses as well. And they raise a lot of monies to help all the small, medium enterprises in that sense. So strength in numbers, join association, so that, it will help you tie through the crisis, but at the same time will give you hope for the future. So together we can do a lot more than when we do it alone. That's a quote by Helen Keller. And, before coming to a close, I just want to encourage all of you to understand that, I also started a women empowerment for mistress class. So feel free to scan a QR code, connect with me on Facebook and also on LinkedIn. And I would love to connect with you, all the people that, in a sense, can add value to you and serve you. And this morning, once again from Singapore, thank you, Joe, for the opportunity to serve. Thank you for everyone paying attention. Thank you so much. Over to you, Joe. Thank you, Joe.
Thank you very much, Marie. You covered quite well, obviously it was quite an overview, and you covered both a perspective on from a corporate crisis. You covered that right at the start, and you also covered the personal issues and a crisis that affects yourself. A wonderful story that you shared. I know I can certainly attest to at least a lot of the examples that you shared personally in my own life as well, and crisis that have occurred in my life throughout, whether is it in my personally or in career. I always take with myself a good piece of advice. Someone actually told me, deposited into me, someone sometime really early in my life. I think I was in my early 20s. And she basically told me straight, they said, "Joseph, I don't care how many times you fall. I only care that you pick yourself up again." And that is the thing that really defines us moving forward. It does not mean that just because we adopt, if you could put it, an anti-crisis mentality, or we have these coping mechanisms, that crisis does not come.
Correct.
And it come in various forms.
Yes.
And it's like, how we continue to cope and move from strength to strength, even when crisis wants to put us in positions of weakness.
Yes.
Exactly. I did notice, though, some people, when they go through crisis, they tend to adopt a victim mentality.
Yes.
A victim mentality,
right.
And and I'm not saying this as a critique, because it happens to everyone.
Exactly. Yeah.
Sometimes crisis, maybe when we mature in having a positive mindset in dealing with crisis, sometimes one crisis may not throw you off balance, but a combination of crises strung together, yes, can knock us off our feet. And then it brings us back to this victim mentality. How would you suggest someone, say if you have a friend or a colleague that has this victim mentality, overcome that thought process?
Okay, so a great question, Joe. So being human, we are more than just human and skin and face and everything else. We are also kind of like driven by emotions, physiological stuff, mental emotions, mental mindset, all these things. So basically when somebody, kind of like went into this victim mode, in a sense, I tend to ask questions of where it comes from. Because when you said that, it's not just one crisis that knocked you off. There's plenty of other crises, but some crises affect us more than others. For example, the family dynamics. It could be also a marriage. It could be, family toxicity, the baggage from the past. All this can also affect us. So we then kind of like being driven by those emotional baggage more so than the crisis externally. For example, like this COVID situation, people can cope better with the COVID situation than they can cope staying at home for 2 months with their family members. And, unfortunately, we have also read that, suicide actually went up, domestic violence went up, and all these things. So in that sense, that is also crisis within the family itself. And we have to then dive into the deeper part of where this all started, why it all started. Because before the COVID, everybody was doing their own thing. So they're outside of the house, they do their own thing, they love or have passion about all this. But the minute everybody comes together, what happens? It's like a volcano, so it started to explode. So for somebody who went through this kind of saying, like, I cannot cope with it anymore, the big C comes in, the coaching. So coaches help to dig out some of the things and say, like, what exactly is it that's bothering you? Is it your insecurity? Is it your fear? What exactly is it that you feel? Or is it your self-esteem? Or is it you feel like you're not coping? And if not, why? And then we journey with you through all those issues and then help you to see that, you're not a victim. You're not the only one. In fact, it's very normal across the board. And you're only human. However, don't stay rock bottom too long. In a pity party, nobody comes to your pity party. Let's put it this way, and nobody brings presents anyway. So this is the thing that, I would encourage people to find somebody you respect, that you admire, that you want to emulate perhaps, and then take it from there. Yeah.
Wonderful.
Great question, Joe.
Thank you very much. I actually have in my home, I have a very nice poster of a sailboat that's caught in rough seas, and it has this quotation on it: "When you can't change the direction of the wind, adjust your sail."
Yes.
Adjust your sail. Crisis comes and crisis goes.
Yes.
And a new crisis comes, whether is it in work, in relationship, in marriage,
exactly.
in your relationship with your children, with your parents, with your spouse, with your in a workplace, with your colleagues, with your bosses. It can be financial crisis.
Exactly.
We're not, in saying all of this, we're not dismissing the gravity of some of these crises. I mean, obviously, they can have real impact and implication. But I think a lot of times, if we adopt that victim mentality, avoid that victim mentality, these are all steps that we can take. Look at a more positive way of looking at situations that come to us, but also talk to people. Talk to people, open yourself up to share with people your struggles. And know that as we do that, and I found this by myself through failing, and I don't mind admitting this. Many times I realized that actually when I share with people, I realize that I'm not the only one going through them.
Yes, exactly.
There are other people who go through the same thing, maybe even worse, and then puts me, it gives me the right perspective on the crisis in my own life.
Yes, absolutely.
Does anyone have any other questions that they want to pose? You can type it in the chat box.
Yes. Any questions?
Nope.
Cool.
Okay, well, yeah, you're always welcome to type in your questions, even for Marie, and we can. Okay, we do have one. Okay, this is an interesting one. How can one become a mini coach? I don't know what a mini coach is, but how can one become a coach of sorts to help others and make it an income generating activity?
So we're talking about monetization here. But first and foremost, before anyone pay you, you need to build credibility first. So let's put it this way. You offer something for free first, in a sense, complimentary. People need to taste before they will buy. So if you're a mini coach, right, you add value in a sense, like now, you do Zoom calls, or occasionally help those who seek your help. And what you need to do is that you need to also, now, three things. Number one, complement, in a sense, become the subject matter expert. So in interaction in Facebook, social media, to show that you have value, to show that you know what you're talking about, as a mini coach kind of thing. So interact. So that's one. Number two is that when people start coming to you, I say, look, I do mini coaching and I charge per hour. So you must have a price point too. So don't just say, I'm a coach and how much do you charge? I don't know, whatever. You also must take it as if like it's your mini business. Even if you say mini coaching, let's say mini business. So, in a sense. So what's your price point? And don't overcharge. Don't say 1 hour I charge $7,000, whatever. But say, look, perhaps, I charge about $50, what's your budget? So have a price point. Number three is that when you become the subject matter expert and you have a price point, people will start coming to you and ask the question, is there anyone else that I can serve and help? And so it becomes like you start the ball rolling in a sense. And then what you do is also make sure you put yourself out there, because I find that when you put yourself out there, make sure you are of substance. Sorry to say, I do not acknowledge the fact that, I'm a life coach. I'm not a life coach. I don't know everything about life. I only know certain things about life. So I'll just say that, look, I just empower women. But I have a team of people to help me. When I say team of people, I'm not talking about employees. I'm talking about people who are resonate with what I say and do. So this would be another one whereby like everybody collaborate with everybody. In a sense, also as a mini coach, you are also directing people to the right source. So you may not have all the answers, but some people do. And when you have a team of people, you collaborate with, you can say, look, I've got somebody who's going to ask about financial literacy, for example, and you have somebody who does that. You can refer that to. Now, why is that referral important? Because when somebody who approach that financial literacy coach to say, look, I need help with certain aspect of what you do, they will refer back to you. So it's a collaborative effort in that sense. So the 3 points is this. I reiterate. Number 1, be a subject expert. Interact on social media. Number 2, have a price point, but reasonable and enough to generate that income for you without being ridiculous, if you know what I'm saying. And number 3 is collaborate with other people who are better in, not say better, but who are not subject experts in your area, but in other areas that you can refer to. Yeah, so that would be my 3 pointers.
Wonderful. I'll just like to then quickly wrap up that question and add on 3 more points. Of course, from a commercial business perspective, there are a lot of different things that we can do and interventions that we can pursue to make any business profitable and revenue generating. And so it's a great question. But I would like to also then dial back a little bit more to 3 fundamental points. One is your passion. Make sure that you want to do something for the right reasons, and that it's something that you're passionate about, because it may be that when you start, at least in the short term, and maybe even to the midterm, it may not have that revenue potential that you think that it might have, and that it will take time. So if we go into it with the wrong reasons, without the right passion, inclinations, then you're going to drop out halfway. Sometimes the greatest prize is right at the top and the apex of this mountain that you're climbing, but you have to keep climbing, and the higher you go, the tougher the climb is going to be. The second thing I would mention is authenticity. Authenticity is important because that's directly the way the people that you are connecting to relate to you. If they don't connect with you on an authentic level, you don't build that level of trust with them. We can forget about ever crossing the bridge for building a revenue or making money out of any of this, because you've not built trust, you've not built right relationship. People think that you're just out to make a fast buck out of them. Social media is replete with all these examples. I was sharing with with a couple of people. You see these sponsored ads on Facebook. I'm sure all of us have seen them. And I see a lot of these ads right now that says, "Discover your purpose in life.
Yes.
Invest in this stock," or "Break free from the rat race. Buy this property." So I'm not throwing shade at these ads. But what I'm trying to say is that people need to feel that you're authentic, especially when we're dealing with aspects to do with life and coaching, life coaching, and those kinds of areas, quite broad. People need to know that they can trust you. The last one I would say, probably in a whole list of laundry list of stuff that you can focus on, is it's your niche. Niche. Discover your own niche. What is it that you're focusing on? If it is work related, if it's career related, is there a specific aspect in career coaching or mentoring that you want to focus on? If it's in life, is there a specific area? Is it marriage? Is it specific? And if it's in marriage, is it about communication, or is it how you relate to your children, or whatever? Trying to find that niche. So your passion, your authenticity, and your niche. So I would say these points. Thank you so much, Marie. I think this was a good start that sets the scene. Thank you very much, Marie, for sharing your experience and your perspective.
Thank you for the honor. Thank you, Joe.
Thank you very much.